My boyfriend was always rejecting me, so I broke up with him, was silent for a long time, pulled out his cell phone and opened an innocent school novel. I was not moved, until he read out the male protagonist with the same name as him. I covered my face and staggered a step. Shut up. Roses weave romantic dreams. Chase to see roses. Romantic meaning endless, all the way to the romantic endless. Be sure to like, comment, retweet, follow, open the little bell. Beautiful drama on Time to Embrace. I heard that the hero of your novel. I glanced at the male god on the couch with his long legs folded, and then turned my head to look at the balcony, weighing in my heart which is more painful, death by falling from the 6th floor or death by falling off the Horse Society. Before I could think of anything else, the male god's demonic whisper resounded again. Droplets of water dripped slowly from his perfect jawline, sliding over his sexy collarbone, toned chest, and solid belly. The male god was stuck. I silently covered the hood of my sweatshirt. You peeked at me in the shower, the male god questioned me. I didn't. I argued. The last time you went swimming with my brother, I watched in the open. The boy god snorted. Non-swimmer had to follow me to the swimming pool, so I was waiting here. Tapped his finger on the screen a few times, quickly scratching to the next post. Yes, I not only take the male god as a model to write short stories in Sumho, but also write a series. Little Tits, Little Wolfhound. Country Boy, Sickly Schemer, High Ridge Flower. The heroes are all named Ethan, and the heroines are all named Lila. Ethan is the male god, Lila is me. Quietly raised my eyes, only to see Ethan's brows wrinkled, turned his cell phone screen toward me, and said in a deep voice, height is even. And how do you know the circumference? I pulled the drawstring of my sweatshirt, covering my rampart thick face tightly, revealing only a pair of thieving eyes. I guessed. Ethan blushed a little better and continued down the page. Nothing substantial to depict, kinda knew the score. It's not so bad if I don't mention it, but when I do, it makes me angry. Measurement, what's the point? I was outraged. That's because I don't have any real-world experience. I can't even write a kissing scene without readers laughing at me and calling me a lifelong single, which I wasn't a month ago. With my stalking, Ethan became my boyfriend a month ago. Today, a month later, Ethan somehow found out my nickname on some blog, and then saw my passionate creations. What a joy to live and what a sorrow to die. I simply covered my eyes too. Wanted to play a Chopin's Nocturne for myself to pay tribute to my dying love. Let's break up, life is so meaningless. Break up. Ethan reaches out and pulls me to him, tugging my hat off, a lazy smirk in his voice. Because I didn't let you take advantage of me after a month of dating. Does your brother know you're playing me like this? Easily pinpointing my dead center. Coughed lightly. Playing around is not that accurate a word to use. Oh, what should I call it then? Starting and stopping? I demurred. Ethan gripped my head. Can't you think of anything positive at your age? I was furious and jumped off the couch and ran to my room, slamming the door loudly. After I turned on my computer, I cracked a bunch of words, and the hero and heroine of my latest article successfully. Gotta be ending. Looking at the female lead leaving in style without looking back, and the male lead crying in pain and regret, I was able to get a little more comfortable. I know Ethan's heart is in the right place. In fact, I know in my heart that Ethan didn't necessarily like me much when he agreed to be with me. He just didn't dislike me, and for the sake of my brother, he gave me a try. Is my brother's alumnus and partner, 3 years younger than my brother. The first time I met him, I was hooked up with him. I begged my brother to help matchmaking. My brother did not agree, said I grew up short-lived passions, not allowed me to woo his brother, strongly condemned this kind of arm-twisting behavior. And my brother sneered and reported a string of names. It was the boys I had had crushes on growing up. Mom and dad had raised their kids in a free-range style, and it had always been my brother who had been more in charge of me. So sometimes I was more afraid of my brother than mom and dad. I craned my neck and said to my brother, this time is different. What's different? Ethan's better looking than all of them. My brother transferred me $5,000 and told me to stay wherever I was. Turned around and bought Ethan a new watch. And my brother's nose got all bent out of shape. Since he wouldn't help me, I had to do it myself. It was hard to get him to let me hold his hand, but the most he would let me do was hold his little hand. And why best friend Peach sent me a message. Why did you start writing B? You've got a problem with Ethan. Me? I'm breaking up with him. I've been cooped up in my room for so long, and no one said anything to coax me out of it. As we all know, girlfriends are always persuading to break up but not to make up. A phone call came in and Peach's consolation was pristine. You're very aware. There's a mixer tonight. Are you going? I paused and gambled. Go. I rummaged through my closet and put on a little dress, put on a little makeup, and opened the door with a lot of noise. There was no response. I looked around the house and saw no sign of Ethan, who had actually just left. My nose turned sour and I took a cab straight to my destination. Peach sat in the middle of a group of people waving at me. I smothered my head and squeezed next to her, without saying a word. First tons and tons of 3 glasses of wine. Peach was a bit surprised. Why are you so angry? Didn't you say that every time you see that face of his, you can get rid of half of your anger? I gave her a mournful look, thinking of my own miserable experience, and said I didn't want to talk. Peach sighed softly and put her arm around my shoulder. I told you long ago that old men are unreliable, but you just don't listen, said she. Reached out and pointed to a group of young boys playing games not far away. See, that's what I'm talking about, the younger brothers of the first year in the gymnasium. How about it? Do you feel the scent of adolescent hormones coming on? As if sensing it, one of the boys in white TS turned his head and smiled slightly at Peach and I, revealing small white teeth and 2 shallow dimples. TSK, how fragrant your brother is. Better not. I hang my head disinterested. Peach gave me a deep look. It was a complicated look, 3 parts pity, 3 parts sympathy, and 4 parts obvious contempt. A soldier can be killed, not humiliated. I clenched my fists and said fiercely, wait for me to eat the old man dry. Before the bravado was finished, the old man's video call came. I am not sure if I've ever seen a video call before. I was so weak that I blocked the camera and pressed the answer button. Where have you been? Why is it so noisy? You have the nerve to ask me that. With Peach's smirking expression I said, none of your business. Still mad, Ethan flipped the camera around and aimed it at a table of fondue ingredients, bell peppers tumbling in a boiling butter pan in the center, and a black swan cake in the corner. The cake store was far from my house, at least an hour's drive away. Didn't I say there's no such thing as a person who can't be coaxed through a hot pot? Just in case, I even bought your favorite cake. Isn't letting me have a kiss better than anything else? I was about to say a few more words when someone was suddenly pushed into my arms, and my hand that was blocking the camera was shifted due to the impact. The white t-shirt from earlier was shoved into Peach's arms and accidentally got in my face. Peach smiles and raises an eyebrow, looking like she's watching, but stiffens the moment she looks at the screen. Lemon, why are your brother there? I instantly blushed. My brother. Jason's cold gaze pierced through the screen. Lila, you've gotten fat, haven't you? I'm done. Brother, you're back from a business trip. Before I could think of a good explanation, Ethan smiled and rounded off the conversation. I'm the one who upset Lila. She's just gambling with me. Don't blame her. I don't know why, but I seemed to smell a faint scent of tea through the screen, taking advantage of the gap between Ethan and Jason's arrival. I got myself 6 or 7 points drunk in order to play dumb. As expected, Jason appeared in front of me with a face so drawn and black that he could pinch ink. The culprit, Peach, was long gone, and I wooed into Ethan's arms. Looking up at him pitifully, Ethan ticked the corners of his mouth. Imperceptibly, just when I was gleefully expecting him to shield me from the world, Ethan's expression changed. 3 parts sadness, 3 parts jealousy, and 4 parts resignation. He looked to Jason. It's my fault. I shouldn't have gotten mad at her. She must have been drunk to be pulling someone else's strings. You should stop talking about her. The aroma of tea was overflowing. It wasn't my fault. I stared in disbelief. Jason took the opportunity to grab me by the back of my collar and drag me out of Ethan's false embrace, splitting my head and giving me a lecture. Oh wow, I cried so loud. Not only did my boyfriend not love me, he was counting on me. Played drunk and refused to get in the car, wrapping Ethan's jacket around me and laying on top of him, asking him to walk me back on his back. Was it wrong? Ethan asked me. What a way to kill a man with a knife. I responded with a bite on his neck. Hiss. Ethan ducked his head to avoid it. What? Schemer-flavored Ethan doesn't appeal to you. I froze, then realized he was mimicking the protagonist in my novel, and was mortified. The schemer means for you to use against your love rival, not against me. Who's the enemy? The one who appeared in the video? I gasped. I don't even know his name. You're kinda sorry. Ethan's voice couldn't be heard as happy or angry. Why don't I carry you back, and add his contact information as well? I was silent. Ethan always treated me so lightly, more like a brother than a boyfriend. Just like Jason. Don't want that. Burying my head in the crook of Ethan's neck for a while, I used the alcohol to make a scene. I don't want a schemer. I want a country boy. And you say earthy words to me? Ethan laughed. I don't know how. I huffed and puffed and pulled out my cell phone. I'll teach you. Clearing my throat, I said, are you blind? You've hit me in the heart. Ethan didn't say anything. I sneaked a sideways glance at him and didn't see any change in his expression, but I did notice the sweat seeping from the corner of his forehead. I've been eating well lately, and my weight has rubbed off on me. Shamefully wiped his sweat. Ethan said in a good mood, go on. You must have been a carbonated beverage in a previous life. I'm bubbling with joy at the sight of you. I saw Ethan arched his eyebrows slightly, and I was so encouraged that I raised my voice a few notches. Your eyes light up the night, I just want to stay by your side. Ethan, I suspect you're essentially a book. Why else would I want to sleep more and more the more I read? Ethan was on his feet. It's starting again, isn't it? He frowned, not looking too happy. But his flushed ears betrayed him, smiled dementedly and whispered in his ear, Ethan, I'm never writing innocent stories again, haha. The consequence of being too wild was that I was directly thrown down by Ethan, and I fell down when I was dizzy. Ethan took me home in a taxi, his house, after changing my shoes. I purposefully headed straight for Ethan's spacious master bedroom, only to be grabbed by the arm and thrown back into my room. A month into the relationship, I hadn't been able to eat Ethan's tofu, but I'd managed to commandeer a room in Ethan's house, put in some of my clothes and household items, and swapped out quite a few of Ethan's belongings for couple's items with mine. Ethan rummaged through my makeup removing wipes. Take your own makeup off, it'll get you some iodine vapors you need to decontaminate that scrape on your leg. Turns out he only took me back to his place because it was close, sulked Ethan. Let's have a fight. Ethan kept his head down as the cotton ball gently rubbed over the injured area on my calf. Why? I want to know how you contradicted me. Ah, it hurts. Ethan's dark eyes stared at me somberly, his hand movements steeply harder, and I wisely shut my mouth. This is also a rustic love language. Where did you learn that? In Ethan's stern eyes. I was reduced to a quail, before going to bed. To make sure Ethan was not really angry, I dragged him to tell me a story. Ethan was speechless and helpless. What story? I huddled under the covers with only one pair of eyes showing. Tell me a story about you. Ethan let out a laugh. So do you want to hear the story of Ethan the lemonade, Ethan the boss, or Ethan the sick boy? I gritted my teeth. Kids only make choices. I want them all. Ethan bent down, lowered his head and slowly approached me, his voice gentle like water. Listen up. Was mesmerized, nodding my head like garlic. Ethan's thin lips gently open. If you dare to go out and find another man behind my back, I'll break your legs. Early in the morning, Peach sent a cordial greeting. Still alive? I sent her a smile emoticon. Peach sent another red envelope, chatting about a 200. I took the money and added to the story of what happened after she left. Peach listened with great interest. This is a broken pot. Simply let yourself go. No, how could Ethan be so oblivious after all this flirting? Does he really think you're too young to make a move on you? Ha 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 ha. I interrupted her. What's so small about it? I'm only 5 years younger than Ethan, Peach said. Everywhere. I cursed and hung up. During my lunch break, I went to the pantry to make a cup of tea, and a couple of my coworkers were chatting about emotional issues, so I pricked up my ears to listen. They were talking about Linda, an intern at the same time as me. Linda was late in the morning. Her eyes were red and a little swollen when she came in, so she had fallen out of love. Was a bit puzzled. Linda's boyfriend has always been quite good to her, gentle and considerate. Why would he break up? Emily, a senior in the same group, sighed. Good is good, but don't you see that there is a sense of distance when they get along? That boyfriend of hers, in fact, has never been able to let go of his ex-girlfriend in his heart, and now that his ex has turned back to him, he immediately left Xiao-Lin behind. Another colleague said indignantly, what's so good about that man? What's so great about him? He's just good looking. How can good looks be good for food? I've told you before, Jiajia's boyfriend isn't really interested in her. Jiajia is just stupid. He's a few years older than Lin, and he can really take care of people. Lin is young and inexperienced, so it's inevitable that she'll be coaxed. In my opinion, it's better to look for someone of similar age and experience. Kevin, the programmer downstairs, is good, sunny and handsome. Why don't we introduce him to Xiao-Lin? Come on, Ms. Su, don't think we don't know that Kevin is your cousin's kid. What's wrong with cousins? We know each other. I won't hurt Lin, right? That kid is really nice. While my coworkers were chatting with each other, I felt as if a ball of cotton had been stuffed in my heart. How it sounds. It's a rehash of the story of Ethan and me. Emily noticed that I was out of sorts and quietly asked me, how are you doing with your family? I said painfully, I'm fine. Emily patted the back of my hand. You can't generalize about people, we're just chatting. Don't take it to heart. I know you'll take it to heart. After work Ethan came to pick me up, and just as I got in the passenger seat he handed me a paper bag. What is it? Cotton candy. Ethan gestured for me to put on my seatbelt. Didn't you say you wanted some this morning? How thoughtful. Unwrapped the package and took a bite, muffling the question. Ethan, have you ever had an ex? Ethan visibly froze. Yes. The candy cane in my mouth instantly stops being sweet, and I snarl in a cold voice, bah, scum. Ethan, This can't go on like this. Even if I can't get Ethan's heart, I can't even get his person right. I can't even get Ethan's person, can I? Is it a human's life to be able to see and touch the beauty of the world every day? I looked up a few classic horror movies, compared them and found the scariest one, and planned to watch it with Ethan, so that I could take advantage of the opportunity to mooch off him. After taking a shower, I forced Ethan to put on the couple's bunny pajamas I bought, turned off the living room lights, and wrapped up in a small blanket to watch the movie with him nestled on the couch. The classic lived up to its name. The picture ambience sound effects were all over the place, and I watched with my heart racing and my eyes glowing. It was exciting. It was about halfway through the movie when I remembered what the purpose of this move was, slowly touched the spot next to me and said in a shaky voice, Ethan, I'm scared. Against my wishes, I touched a lonely, turning my head. Ethan was sitting in the corner of the couch wrapped in a small blanket that had somehow slipped off of me, sniffing at me and saying, I'm scared too. Can it still work? I moved to Ethan's side, forcefully ripped the pillow from his arm, and burrowed into his arms on my hands and knees. His fresh and clean scent instantly surrounded me. I was satisfied, but my face was still in a state of shock. I should have known better than to watch this. I'm sure he'll have nightmares. Ethan readily accepts good advice. Don't watch it, go to bed early. Did he get my hint? I lowered my head and pretended to be shy. Together, of course. Not man. I laughed at the bottom of my heart. Fortunately I have plan B. Jason always told me that Ethan was a good friend of mine. Jason always told me that Ethan's drinking capacity is poor. The meal back and forth have to rely on him to support. Sober Ethan refused to give me a chance. Then drunk Ethan will still have the ability to resist. I took out the wine that I had already prepared, and on the pretext of drinking to help me sleep, I pulled Ethan to accompany me. Ethan raised his eyebrows, a pair of deep black eyes staring at me with a weak heart. The corner of the mouth seems to be a smile is to make me 2 points of retreat. On second thought, what are you afraid of? As Peach said, men are like springs. You are weak, he will be strong. You strong, he will naturally give SOI in Ethan's scrutinized and teasing eyes. Hard-headed smile, and he clinked glasses. Gradually, Ethan's white skin began to blush, and his eyes softened, as if with a small hook, tickling the heart. Jason honestly does not deceive his sister. I tentatively called out, Ethan, His voice was low and muffled, the end trailing off. What's wrong? I choked. The words took a turn for the worse and I decided to curve. My readers read the kissing scene I wrote and private messaged me overnight to send me little essays on how to kiss and what it feels like. My eyes lingered on Ethan's moist lips and I gulped as I continued. Is it true what she said about boys' mouths being soft and jelly-like? Ethan laughed. You want jelly now? Even though I started it, I couldn't help but blush at the moment. That was too much of a thought for him to hear. I opened my mouth, but no words came out, only an aha from my throat. Ethan leaned in of his own accord. I was shocked. Was Ethan this docile and talkative when he'd been drinking? The way he lowered his eyebrows was almost as good as the bunny ears on his pajamas. Whatever, practice makes perfect. I lunged at him in an instant. The moment I pressed my lips against Ethan's, all I could feel was my brain buzzing. What did all the avid readers teach me? I completely forgot. Probably out of breath and with me not moving a muscle, he mumbled, all right. I froze and looked at him. What? Ethan didn't answer and got up and walked towards the room. His steps still a little unsteady, followed him a little unconvinced. I know I'm not a good kisser, but there's a first time for everything. The response to me was the door of the room closing with a bang and the sound of unlocking from inside. I'm really angry. I can't be coaxed. In the morning when Ethan was preparing breakfast in the kitchen, I picked up my bag and ran out. Was so full of anger that I didn't want to see him. I took a cab to the office, and since it wasn't yet time to go to work, I sat at my workstation and swiped my phone. It wasn't long before I received a message from Ethan. I'm downstairs at your office. I didn't reply. He sent another message. I brought you breakfast. Come down to get it. I still ignore men. Sometimes you have to hang out. Ethan, I saw your colleague Linda, or ask her to bring it to you. I was in a hurry. No way. Hurriedly ran downstairs, saw Ethan standing in the first floor hall, suit straight, hand carrying a candy-colored thermos bucket, looking quite eye-catching. I walked to him in front, cold face, did not say anything. Ethan acted like nothing was wrong. Not eating breakfast again? Aren't you afraid of a stomachache? I glared at him, telling him with my own expression, lazy. Ethan laughed unnecessarily. You did that to me last night while I was drunk, and now you're saying flip-flop. It was almost 8 o'clock, and people were coming and going in the lobby. Was so scared that I stepped forward and covered his mouth. What are you talking about? My gossipy coworkers, whoever passes by and accidentally hears it, I don't know how it will be rumored. When I turned my head, Emily was staring at Ethan and I with her access card in hand, her eyes glowing. The corner of my mouth twitched. Good morning, Rue. Emily nods and walks towards me. Morning, boyfriend comes specially to deliver breakfast. Ethan smiled and stuffed the thermos into my hand, stroked my head and said to Emily, yeah, I don't know what's wrong. From last night's awkwardness to now, I won't even eat breakfast, said a light sigh in a seemingly helpless manner. Little girls are just thin-skinned. He is on purpose, fist-hardened. Emily's eyes are getting brighter and brighter. Don't worry, I'll help you. Watch her, it's almost time, so we'll go up first. She pulled me and flew out of Ethan's line of sight. Couldn't wait to ask me, you did that to someone, you can do it, Jane. I can't tell you're so good at it. Not I didn't, don't be modest. Emily held me down. Come on, drink the congee and tell me the details. I don't know what images she brainstormed by relying on Ethan's plausible words the whole day, looking at my eyes with indescribable ambiguity and approval. I was even more angry directly. Ignoring Ethan, who came to pick me up on time, striding in the opposite direction, but was then out of Emily, dragged, pushed into Ethan's arms. What are you running for? We're new age independent women. If you dare to do something, you have to admit it, she said. I couldn't defend myself and struggled to no avail, but Ethan grinned and grabbed me by the shoulders and shoved me into the car. How about Japanese food later? No, I twisted my head. Why eat with me if you dislike me so much? When we got to the intersection there was a red light, and Ethan broke my head gently so that I had to look straight at him. When did I ever dislike you? Good looks are such a natural advantage, and with such a soft and doting tone, I almost forgive him. I lifted my chin stubbornly. Just last night, you locked me out. What do you mean? It's hard to believe that I would eat you, Ethan asked rhetorically with a grin. Wouldn't you? Shit. I took a deep breath. A sloppy kiss blocked what I was about to say, and I stared at Ethan with wide eyes. But he had already calmly turned his head away and stepped on the gas in a calm manner. Was still in a trance until I walked into the Japanese restaurant. Ethan couldn't have been awake at the bar until now. How else could he have kissed me? And does that count as a DUI for him? As a result of my lack of concentration, I collided with someone around the corner. Sorry, are you okay? I hastily apologized. The man I bumped into swept me off my feet, but his eyes stopped on Ethan. What a coincidence, I didn't expect to run into you here. Ethan pursed his lips and took my hand and pulled me to the side. It's quite a coincidence. The man smiled. Little girlfriend, you, like this one now. It was the familiar flavor of gossip. Ethan frowned and didn't seem to want to talk too much. I pressed my curiosity and found an excuse to drag him away. Who is he? I asked Ethan. A friend from college. Oh, he's so handsome. Ethan looked at me and slowly hooked the corner of his mouth. He's also my ex-girlfriend's current boyfriend, but not nearly as good as you. Ethan got up and sat down across from me. Turns out a kiss is no longer temperamental. He lowered his head close to me and smiled a gentle and compelling smile. My eyelids jumped, and just as I wanted to back away a bit, he pressed the back of his head and kissed me again. Fine. Dense kisses landed on his lips, soft and moist. Surprised, my cheeks burned. Although we were the only two people in the private room, the waiter could come at any moment. Fought back my inner dismay and shoved Ethan. Someone. Ethan grabbed my wrist and nipped at my lips again before letting go. I quickly grabbed the menu on the table and buried my whole face in it. Felt like I should have been more hardcore, but my face was really hot, and I didn't need to see it to know that it was definitely RED. Would be laughed at. Can you see it from that close? Ethan tried to jerk the menu away. Let me see it too. I'll look first. I refused to let go and the conversation took a steep turn. Tell me about your ex-girlfriend first. What did whoever it was just now mean when she said you like this one of me now? Nothing. What do you mean nothing? Ethan mused. Probably meant that I cradle rob her and look down on me. I called Peach before I went to bed. I feel like Ethan's hiding something from me. Why do you think he doesn't want to talk about his ex-girlfriend? Is he still hung up on her? Peach yawned. What time is it and you're still up? You're not going to work tomorrow? No, I can't sleep. I thought of Linda. What if Ethan leaves me for his ex? I'd be devastated. Haven't even beat. Peach hung up. What the heck? Undeterred, I called again. After a long ring, Peach's grumpy voice came on the other end of the line. So what if Ethan is green by his ex-girlfriend? Do you just have to go and expose his scars? Shocked, my hand shook and the phone fell under the bed. Ethan was green. Ethan would be green. I shakily picked up the phone and dialed Jason's number again. Brother, ask you something. Jason seemed to still be working. I heard the sound of tapping on the keyboard. Snorted softly. It's hard for you to remember me as your own brother. Been at Ethan's long enough. When are you planning on coming back? Tell me more, brother. Do you know Ethan's ex-girlfriend? Jason was silent for a split second, gritted his teeth and said, no, and hung up on me as well. The next day, I went to work with two panda eyes. Emily made me a cup of coffee, patted my shoulder, and said, young man, you have to know how to exercise moderation. I looked at her, speechless. The feeling of unsatisfied curiosity was too painful. There was no way for me to exercise moderation, but fortunately this pain didn't last long. I soon met the handsome guy who probably greened Ethan again. This Ethan's former love interest, Ryan, suddenly parachuted in as my client boss. Oh, so the pain doesn't go away, it just shifts. In theory, an intern like me, who just joined the company not long ago, shouldn't have any big interactions with the client boss. But the bad thing was that when the leader was showing Ryan around the company, he came around to my side and said with a smile, what a coincidence. I didn't realize you worked here. In the presence of the leader, I faked a smile so hard that the muscles in my face were throbbing vaguely. After Ryan left, the leader called me into his office and elucidated the importance of this project in a heavenly manner. Then he waved his hand and arranged for me to be in charge of the docking work of this project. I did a good job. I would be transferred early. I didn't do well. The leader didn't say so explicitly, but just hinted me that the consequences would be serious. I'm a work newbie. How much responsibility can I take? It is better to say that I am responsible for the interface, but it is better to say that I am responsible for coaxing people. Didn't even dare to tell Ethan. The gossip squad surrounded me and inquired about my relationship with Ryan, who I told them was a college friend of Ethan's, but I didn't know him well. I told them he was Ethan's friend from college, but I didn't know him well. They happily shared with me the news they'd heard from somewhere. Ryan was a rich single guy from a good family. A few of my female coworkers of the right age were giddy with excitement. Single, I rubbed my chin in thought. When I delivered Ryan's paperwork, he smiled like a fox. You know who I am, don't you? I spoke hesitantly. Ethan's ex-girlfriend's ex-boyfriend. Ryan paused. So you know Sophia too? Not really. Ryan crooked his finger at me. Shall I tell you about it? I struggled a little. Ryan's face was so full of mischief, but I really wanted to know about it. After half a dozen moments of agonizing, I moved over. Go ahead. Ryan gave me a playful look and said leisurely, Ethan and Sophia got together when they were found sleeping in the same room one morning, and my heart sank suddenly. Hadn't even slept with Ethan, and Sophia had not only won the starting line, she had left me in the dust. Ryan said that they were having a club event, a villa party, and because the atmosphere was so good, almost everyone got drunk. The next morning the early risers went from room to room to wake them up, and Ethan and Sophia came out of the same room. The two had always hit it off and were the perfect match in the eyes of the crowd, so it was only natural that they got together. My heart was bubbling with acid, but I couldn't help but continue. What happened? Ryan smiled, did not answer, just lightly said, at that time I also like Sophia. So I looked at him. Did you pry Ethan? When I got home, my silence caught Ethan's attention as he placed cubed fruit in front of me and handed me a small plastic fork. What's wrong? Had a bad day at work? I shook my head. Ethan asked again. So why the moping? I went a few rounds of wanting to say something before I finally wrapped my arms around Ethan's waist. Can I sleep with you? Ethan's body visibly lurches. He looked down at me. If your brother finds out, are you still afraid of my brother? Ethan raised an eyebrow. You're not afraid. I remembered Jason's black face and winced. So I raised my hand and said, I promise I won't do anything ill, just sleep over with you innocently. My brother won't know. Unexpectedly, Ethan agreed. Washed myself in a spray of perfume, lifted Ethan's covers, and bared my soul to shrink into his arms. Attaching myself to him like an octopus, Ethan puts down the book he's holding and his tone is full of sure enough calmness. Nothing. I nodded. Nothing. Ethan raised his hand and turned off the light. Sleep then. After my eyes adjusted to the darkness, I looked at Ethan's fuzzy and handsome silhouette, and my hand unconsciously touched his abs through the cotton pajamas. It felt so good. Ethan, if your ex asked you to get back together, would you agree? Ethan pressed my paw and took a soft breath. No. I held out my other paw. Really? Really. I went to sleep full of thoughts, and in my dreams I saw Sophia. She was just as attractive as in the pictures Ryan had shown me, beautiful and sassy. The moment she's wearing a white dress, looking at Ethan pearly-eyed and telling him the real reason why she broke it off in the first place. Sophia's father died when she was very young, and her mother raised her and her brother alone. Contrary to her understanding and excellence, her mother's favoritism and coddling created her brother's rebellious and misbehaving behavior, often causing trouble. Not to mention that time, actually beat a classmate into the hospital. The family demanded compensation of $300,000. or else they refused to settle the case. Sophia's mother was so angry and anxious that she fell ill. For Sophia, who hadn't even graduated yet, there was no way she could afford the expense, and Ryan lent a hand at that moment. She told Ethan that she had worked her ass off for the past few years and had finally paid back Ryan's money and favors, so she came back to Ethan. She asks Ethan if he still wants to be with her. Ethan gently pulls her into his arms. Many of the scenes in the dream were blurry, but I clearly remember Ethan's last look at me. The one filled with guilt. After I woke up from the dream, I realized that the corners of my eyes were sore, and when I reached out to touch them, they were a few drops of undried tears, shriveled up for days, and Peach was surprised to learn why. Partly because she guessed half the truth, and partly, she looked grave and patted me fearfully. I thought you were just craving Ethan's body, but I didn't expect it. Lemon, you've really fallen for it this time. I bit into my milk tea straw and muffled my voice. Dreams and reality are opposite. But didn't the Who say that Sophia was planning to come back and settle down? Maybe this is a prophetic dream for you. I glared up at her, exasperated, and passed the fruit tea in front of her along with it. In the novels I write, a persona like Sophia is the main female character, and my role is just a side character responsible for driving the plot and promoting the relationship between the hero and heroine. Side characters also have dignity. Ryan could see that I was not in good shape and teased me with a smile. What, so unsure of yourself? I greeted him more than 10 times in the bottom of my heart and let out a sneer, confident. How much bravado is in your mouth, how much emptiness is in your heart. This emptiness peaked when I saw Sophia and Ethan together in a white dress, in front of the hotel. Ryan and I, Ethan and Sophia, formed a strange awkward showdown that separated us from everyone else. Sophia looked even better in person than she did in her pictures. She looked even better in person than she did in her pictures. And she really looked good with Ethan. Ethan's guilty look reappeared in my mind, and I lowered my head, not daring to look at them again. After a long period of silence, Ryan suddenly hooked my shoulder, curved the corner of his mouth, and said his classic line, "What a coincidence, what's so coincidental about it, working overtime until this hour?" Ryan still had to drive me to such a faraway place to have a late-night snack. Obviously he didn't have a good intention. Ethan laughed too, different from his previous laugh, which gave me the creeps. Stared at me, his dark eyes holding a deep anger, and walked towards me without haste. Working late with him. I pushed Ryan away as I mumbled an explanation. I'm really working late, he's my A-side. Ethan clutched my wrist. Why didn't you tell me it was him I was working with? I forgot. Ethan laughed in anger. Before work Ethan sent me a message telling me that he had a college reunion tonight and could bring his family, and asked if I wanted to come along. Was about to say yes when I got a reminder from Ryan that he was working late. Now that I think about it, he planned it all. What a dog. I turned my head to look at him, only to find Sophia beside him in the same questioning manner, and Ryan with his hands in his pockets, looking like he was hanging back. Before I could fully comprehend the situation at hand, Ethan shoved me into his car and took me home. Changing his shoes, Ethan carried me over to the couch and sat down, looking down on me. Had calmed down at this point and decided to make a preemptive strike. Ethan, let's break up. Ethan's expression was stunned for a moment, then his whole face went cold. Why? He leaned in and pressed over, his thin lips close at hand, his breath spilling all over my face as he spoke. Are you tired of me? Or do you have eyes for Ryan? Warm and cool. My nose ached and I almost dropped a tear. Either. Perhaps the redness of my eyes was too obvious. Ethan froze. He sighed and gently rubbed his fingertips over the corners of my eyes. Talk properly. Why are you crying? When he softened his tone, I couldn't hold it in any longer, and I blurted out all the grievances I had been holding in my heart. You still like Sophia, you spent the night with her, now that you know she broke up with you out of necessity. Are you going to get back together with her? She's so good-looking and so powerful. I huffed and puffed while Ethan cried and laughed, handing me Kleenex one by one. I can't hold my liquor, you know that. I went back to my room and went to sleep. Sophia got so drunk she went to the wrong room and slept on the carpet all night. Nothing happened to us. So you were together afterward. She did like me, and after that day I agreed to give her a try. Then something happened to her family and she didn't tell me. And Ryan helped her. Ethan stroked my hair and patted my back. After they got together, Sophia slowly fell in love with Ryan. She tried to pay off the money she owed him, and wanted to live with him as an equal. But Ryan misunderstood that she was coming back to me, and broke up with her in a Cold War. That's what Sophia told me today. No wonder Ethan laughed like that at Sophia's side. Ryan is so childish, making such a scene. Trying to make me a pawn. I looked at the Kleenex I had thrown all over the floor and was speechless for a moment. Ethan pinched a handful of flesh on my face, and his voice held a smile. One dream makes you this upset. Do you care about me that much? I stood up with a shoe. I'm still breaking up with you, Ethan said calmly. Tell me. What else is there to tell? You don't even like me, you won't let me touch you, you're always reluctant, like going through the motions. I paused, because Ethan, he reached out and slowly unbuttoned a shirt. Little puppy, little wolf dog, country boy. Sickly schemer, flower of the high country. The heroes are all named Ethan, the heroines are all named Lila. He undid two more. Peach was right, old men are so unreliable. I'm going for the little tits. His abs were exposed. Finally couldn't resist. I covered my nose and stumbled a step. Stop. Ethan pulled me into his arms. Your brother said, you always have short-lived passions for the guys you like, if I let you have it too easy. What if you go to someone else when you run out of freshness? No, I rubbed his face. Ethan, I love you and I want to have a good life with you. Ethan's breath caught in his throat and he suddenly picked me up in his arms, was so shocked that I couldn't help but scrunch my neck. If my brother finds out, Ethan smiled faintly. Big deal. Hell, beat me up. Be a good boy and add some warm extras for the readers of your novel, will be blocked.